So today I'm going to talk about what I would do different if I was to get into IT for the first time. So for those of you who are new to this channel, before I was in IT, I was aircraft mechanic, and I really wanted to get into IT, and this was during my active duty days. So I pretty much had to study, work hard, have a right timing, the right connections to get into IT. But I find that even though I always had the willpower, for lack of a better term, or the drive to do IT and to just go in head first, I kind of did it in a, I guess, not effective way, if that makes sense. So, a couple of things that I would do different, especially going into specifically cybersecurity, right? So, this is about what I would do different if I was to go into cybersecurity again. And the number one thing I would do was definitely work harder in my programming, whether that's, object oriented programming, picking up a language, just knowing the overall programming logic. Yeah, that's definitely something that I would concentrate more on. And I would say, from my experience, pick one language and stick with it and master it. Because if you know one language, it's fairly easy to pick up other languages within reason, depending on what you're doing, right? So starting off, I think I just randomly picked Python one day. I think it was during the pandemic when I was in some contracting job, and I was like stuck in a hotel. So at all time in the world, I was working on my bachelor's, and I just picked Python because it was one of the easiest, or easier, according to the YouTubes and stuff. So I just picked up on that and I did that. But it was more so just for fun. I didn't really have any direction. But looking back at it now, I wish I kept at it, because I see now how important programming is now. Also, I did some work for educational institution in Okinawa, doing JavaScript, but it was kind of during the time when I was still learning IT and learning a bunch of stuff, so I kind of put it on the back burner. And I'm still doing a lot of other stuff and putting programming on the back burner. Sorry, I can't speak today. But I think when more of my time is freed up, I'm gonna probably concentrate on one language, more than likely Python, and just kind of master it, so that I'll be able to have more of a, I guess you would say, foundation in cybersecurity. The reason being is because in cybersecurity, you surprisingly depends on the part of cybersecurity you're going into. So I'm more interested on the red team side, more on the analytics side. So especially for that, you need to know your programming, because you need to know how to, read scripts to kind of pick out what's wrong, read headers, read you know HTML, sorry, not HTML, but website requests and stuff like that. So it's kind of important that you kind of know what to look for in scripts or just straight up code and whatnot, especially if you're trying to go into pen testing or security operations, analytics, and stuff like that. Another thing that I would focus on if I was to do cyber again, or to jump into cyber again, is to do networking. Networking is surprisingly very important in cybersecurity. You need to know, um, your IP addresses, your how stuff is routed. You need to know, um, because a lot of things such as so a lot of tools such as Nmap, they rely on IP addresses, because you need to know what data is going to and from this particular address to another address, and vice versa. And the switching and how things work from a network point of view allows you to kind of build a mental map of what's going on in that particular infrastructure, so you can know whether this particular address belongs, or whether this particular address is malicious, so on and so forth, especially depending on what type of pen tester you're going to be, you know what I mean? So that's very important. So I think if I was to do it again, those two things, networking and programming, would be a foundation that I would try to get down pat before I would go into the theory and stuff of things in cybersecurity. Because I think a lot of times when people, they try to say, oh, cybersecurity is interesting, I want to jump into it, they kind of think that it's just all the theory of, like, you know, the CIA triad and, you know, governance and policy, which is a part of it, is a non-technical aspect of it. But I think knowing those things, i.e. networking and programming, it will make you more well-rounded. Also, I would definitely get more hands-on, right? Let's say, even if I was to say I wanted to do GRC, you know, governance risk and compliance, I think it's important to know the tools that, let's say, if you really wanted to go on the policy side, right, it's still important to know what the technical guys are still doing. So, like, knowing how to use a SIM, knowing how to use cloud, so maybe getting an AWS account or a Azure account and practicing on there, going on Hack the Box, messing with boxes, doing some CTF, stuff like that. Because the more little tidbits you know, if you're in a position where you're working with a team, it makes you more competent. It shows that, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. This guy is just not doing book knowledge and stuff like that. So I think, and especially, you know, because everyone wants experience, but how are you going to get experience outside of getting the job? You need to do it yourself. And that goes with anything. If it's possible to simulate it or to do something pro bono or something like that, do it. Because the more experience you get, just the more of an edge that you're going to have against for you when it comes to you trying to land that job. So yeah, that's a couple of things that I definitely would do different. You know, learning networking, learning programming, being more practical. And it's not that I'm not doing those now, it's just that I'm kind of playing catch up with everything, all my responsibilities and stuff that's going on. But that's definitely, I think, the not so talked about route that I think is best. It may be different for certain people because, you know, it's more of an economy now where everyone is like, oh, you can do this Google cert in 3 months and land a 6-figure job. And it's like, no, that's not how it works 90% of the time, especially now, because, you know, pointing to my last video where everything is now a trend with cybersecurity. But it's kind of tough now because a lot of people who are kind of getting swamped in developing are coming over to cybersecurity, and a lot of people are kind of seeing that cybersecurity is a field of growth they're jumping in. So not saying that there isn't a piece for a lot of people who are willing to work hard, but it's getting harder and harder. And to make yourself stand out, you definitely need hard skills to, you know, make yourself stand out. But yeah, that's what I would do different. If any of you guys more experience than me have any input, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And that's all I have for today. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.